Well, DJI's done it again. Take a good look at this time lapse. On the left, I've got the Mission 1 Pro. On the right, the Pocket 3. And in the middle, the all-new Pocket 4P, which was supposed to crush this test, but instead, the Pocket 3 beats it, and the Mission 1 Pro totally embarrasses it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is not one that I really wanted to make. It's 24 hours, less than 24 hours since I picked up DJI's new flagship camera, the Pocket 4P. And the first thing I did was I checked something on it, something that I was unable to find anything about on YouTube or any kind of a Google search. There's just nothing about it on there. The Action 6 has the same problem, only it's worse. And the problem is when you run an automatic time lapse with these cameras. The shutters, they don't open for very long. So you have an issue when you transition from day to night, sunset, sunrise. And I do a heck of a lot of that with a whole lot of cameras. This is something I've tested. I don't know if anybody's tested it more than I have with between cameras to see which one is the best, because it's very important for me in the videos I make and the kinds of transitions that I do. In those time lapses, you're going from bright to dark, and if you're leaving your camera out in auto mode, the shutter's got to change its speed so it doesn't blow out the highlights during the sunny period and lose the shadows in the dark. So what happens with the Action 6, it does a fantastic job as the sun is still up in the sky with that fast shutter speed. But when it gets dark, the shutter will only stay open for a maximum of 1 second. Now, when it's super dark, 1 second is not enough. You do not get any details. It pretty much just goes black. Now, the Pocket 3 is a fantastic camera for these kinds of shots, and it will open up to 30 seconds, just like the GoPro Mission 1. The thing with the Pocket 3 is that it depends on what your ISO is set to as to how long that shutter is going to open. If you're into the 400s, it's only going to open for 15 seconds. If you go lower than that, it'll open for longer. I'll explain that better shortly. The Mission 1 Pro stays open for 30 seconds is the longest that I've seen when I've ran it, and this is amazing. The Pocket 4P only opens up for a maximum of 4 seconds. That is not enough. The Action 5 Pro opens up for 8 seconds, so that's twice as long as the Pocket 4P. I don't know what's going on. I had emailed DJI numerous times on this Action 6, and they basically told me in the end that it had something to do with the variable aperture and how they didn't give me a solid answer, but they understood that it was a problem. I don't know what it is with the Pocket 4P, but it's a problem. So what I found was that I can get a decently bright image if I crank the ISO up to 12,800. I ran a test where I cranked the ISO to 12,800 on both of the Pocket cameras, and the results were quite similar. Garbage. Very, very smurry. They are soft. They're like jello. A lot of processing going on, and the ISO is just kicking the shit out of it, to be honest. The Hero 13 and the Mission 1 Pro, they're behaved the same. I run their ISOs at 50 or 25 to 800, 800 max, and I get terrific results like that. The Pocket 3, typically I would run it at either the 50 to 200 or the 50 to 400, terrific results. Running the Pocket 4P that low, you just don't have the shutter staying open long enough. So let's have a look at the Mission 1 Pro. I have this in time-lapse mode, 30-second shutter. Now look on the top left, that is the shutter speed. And when I black it out, you're gonna watch it go up. 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 11 seconds, 14 seconds. It should go all the way up to 29 seconds because I'm on a 30-second interval. There we got 29 seconds. So that's how long it's going to open for when it's dark, when it needs the light. Now when we switch over to the Pocket 3, this is quite interesting how the shutter works. I'm in that 30-second time lapse. If I move over to settings, go into exposure, see we're at 50 to 400 for ISO. If I cover the lens, we're going to get a shutter max of 15 seconds. But if I switch this to an ISO of 50 to 200. Now when I cover it, it'll bounce all the way up to 30. So that's how we get the best night transition time lapses in auto mode with this Pocket 3. This is something that the Pocket 4 doesn't have, and we're gonna look at that right away. Okay, the Action 5 Pro got the same thing going on here. 30-second interval. If we look into the auto settings, you can see the shutters at 1/2. If I black it out, it's gonna jump right up to 8. 8 seconds is the max it's gonna open on the Action 5 Pro. So here with the Pocket 4P, we're in that 30 seconds, and if we slide over to the settings, get into auto, you'll notice if we go down all the way to 1/200, the best shutter we're gonna get covering it up is 4 seconds. It doesn't matter which ISO you're in, 800, 4 seconds, it's all the same. 4 seconds is the max, and that is just not good enough for these night shots. And last and certainly least on this is the Action 6. Flip her around, we got the 30-second interval. We will head over into our settings. Now this is interesting too. Something I want to mention about this Action 6 is when you're in auto, the aperture settings are either f4 or f2.8. You cannot open it up to 2. But we're looking at exposure here. So you can see it's a 1/10. When I black it out, that 1 second shutter is the absolute best that it's going to give us, and that is a terrific amount of garbage for this guy. Not sure why they're doing this. So this is just a huge problem for me, because now this camera is not going to be replacing this camera because it can't do that lapse that I need it to do. I'm always doing this in the city. Wherever I'm traveling, I'm running these sunrise and sunset hyperlapses because they're just amazing. That's why they're called the Holy Grail. Now, if you can't do it, that means I have to bring you and you, but you don't have a telelens. This is just the ongoing problem with these action cameras. The Mission 1 Pro is fantastic. It absolutely kills these shots. It kills just about everything. It's pretty much replacing the DJIs for me, except the audio. I don't really like its audio, but I did pick up the media mod, so I'm going to be testing that out. Hopefully that helps. I don't really like the way the mics are working on it. So either it's the sound or the image, or it can't do a friggin' time lapse. And with the Action 6, one more thing I want to note about it is manual mode. You can crank that shutter open for, I think, 30 seconds, maybe even more. I'm not sure. A long time. So you can run your night lapse like that, but what happens is when the sun rises, that shutter's still staying open long and everything gets super blown out. So it doesn't work for that. And in my experience, I haven't had luck getting a really good image like that either, which is actually quite frustrating for me because I've seen quite a few different tutorials on YouTube where they are using the Action 6 to get some pretty fantastic night lapses. I've tried the same settings, not even close. Not even close. I've tried all kinds of settings. 20 seconds, high ISO, low ISO. Nope, it just never comes out very good. I don't know what's going on. I thought maybe my camera was, a one-off, but then I broke it by accident. It fell while it was doing a time lapse and the screen cracked. I sent it to DJI. They sent me a brand new camera back on Care Refresh. And first thing I did was I tried running those night lapses with the manual shutter open to about 20 seconds. No good. Still came out like garbage. So that's my little rant on DJI. I don't know why they're doing this, because obviously they can nail it with the Pocket 3. They can get the 20-second shutter. So why can't you do it? Maybe it's your variable aperture. Why can't you do it? I don't know. So as frustrated as I am with this problem, there is a little bit of a light at the end of this bullshit tunnel, and that's battery life. Absolutely blown away with the Pocket 4P's battery life. I ran these cameras, I left them outside, I should say, for about 9 hours, and when I came out in the morning, the Mission 1 Pro was dead. The Action 6 had about 70% left. The Action 5 Pro had 67, I think it was, percent left. the Pocket 3 had 19% and the Pocket 4P had 17%. Now, the Pocket 3, I had a battery handle on it, so it had all that extra juice. The Pocket 4P was naked. So it was almost as long as the Pocket 3 using a battery handle, extra power on it. So that's absolutely amazing. I also noticed on the motion lapse where it goes left to right, right to left, that you can pick 10 hours now instead of 5, which is the maximum on this guy. So yeah, a ton more battery power here. I can't wait to test it with the battery handle, which, by the way, works just as it should. I love how DJI keeps their batteries and accessories compatible. I'm the Jaunting Ape. Thanks for tuning in, and the world is yours, my friends.